Hello, welcome to Installing Linux. This is Ubuntu, a version of Linux, my favorite distro and definitely the beginner user-friendly distro. So what I've done is I have booted a live CD. If you don't know how to boot a Linux live CD, please watch the previous tutorial about booting Linux live CDs. So here we are in live Linux testing mode, and what I want to do is use gparted. And it pops up gparted. This is the file you want. This is the program you want to run. The reason I'm running this program is because I want to examine my hard drive. Alright, give it just a second. Okay, so what you see here is Windows. Right, there's your little MBR partition. Here's your Windows partition, located in a primary partition. If you can see how this unallocated space is all surrounded by blue and this green space is inside that unallocated blue surrounded space, that's because this is an extended partition. This right here is a 10 gigabyte FAT32 partition located inside of this extended partition. This FAT32 partition is a logical partition. Okay? All logical partitions go inside of an extended partition. So what I have here is a primary partition where my Windows is stored, and Windows always comes first. Windows is aggressive and it wants to be first. So second, after the primary partition, we have the rest of the hard drive volume designated as an extended partition. Inside the extended partition, we have a 10 gigabyte FAT32 logical partition. This unallocated space right here, we will install a logical partition that has Linux installed on it. So when I begin the installation process, I want this to be unallocated. I am going to let the installation process designate a file format and everything else for this space. Plus, it will just make it easier to do the install and far more simple for beginners. Alright, so everything looks good inside gparted. Right here on the front of a Linux Live Desktop screen, boom, there we have it. Right here is the option to install Linux. Let me get you a good focus. There we go. I'm just going to click on that. And I'm going to wait for a minute. It has to think. And you can hear my CD drive going to work, booting up all the information I need for the installation. Now here we go. Now we are at the welcome installation screen. This is all very simple, guys, and I'm going to walk you through it. I know it seems complicated the first time you do it. Alright, so what this is asking me is very simple. It just wants to know what language I'm using. I selected English, and I'm going to click continue. And again, it takes a moment. So now it's going to tell me a few specifications. It says yes, I have at least 4.5 gigabytes available drive space. It is plugged into a power source, and it says no, I'm not connected to the internet. The next option asks me if I want to download updates while installing. If I was connected to the internet, I could download updates while installing. I'm going to go ahead and run updates after the installation, and I'm going to make a video about updating your Linux. You will need to update your Linux upon installation. You can click to choose install third-party software, but you don't necessarily need that. I'm going to say go ahead because I know I'm going to want to use all kinds of these options. You might choose not to do that. just to start out with. So I choose continue, and sorry about the weak film. It's asking me again if I want to connect to the internet, and I'm just going to say no, I'm not worried about this. I click do not want to connect to a Wi-Fi network right now. So we're running off of a live CD, so the CD-ROM doesn't transfer information as fast as, say, the hard drive would transfer information. And now, just like with any other installation, just like Windows or an Apple installation, there's going to be a waiting period. It's going to take a minute to install. So right here, if you get to this screen and your Linux is saying that you do not have any operating systems installed on this, if it's not seeing that you have Windows, that's going to be a problem. The most likely reason for this is that you're using an advanced gaming motherboard and there's some kind of configuration inside your motherboard or some kind of encryption on your hard drive that is interfering with this process. You'll want to troubleshoot your own material, your own hardware, and see if there's an answer. So the three options are install Ubuntu alongside Windows 7, replace Windows 7 with Ubuntu, or something else. I'm going to choose to install Ubuntu alongside Windows 7 and click Install Now. I do not want to choose Erase Entire Disk and install Linux. That will wipe out my dual boot and my Windows, and then I'll be an upset guy, and we don't want that. We want to be a happy guy playing with new state-of-the-art software. So it wants to guess my time zone. I'm somewhere around Central Time Zone. This is just simple update server location stuff. Nothing you need to know. Just pick your time zone. Again, it wants to know your keyboard layout, and you want to choose English USA and English USA. Unless, of course, you fit into some other parameter. Now, this is where we type in our simple login information because we have to create our initial account. So, I am going to leave my first name here, and I'm going to leave my computer's name as Scott Satellite. And what the computer's name is that's what your computer is going to look like on a network. Okay? And then you can pick a username. I'm going to keep the same name. Pick a password. Linux likes longer passwords. Okay. Simple as that. You can encrypt your home folder if you'd like. I would suggest as a beginner don't encrypt it, just so you can learn what you're doing. And right here you get to pick a fancy little icon for your little login character guy. I'm going to choose the spaceman because I'm in cyberspace right now. Continue. And now, my friends, we are in installation mode. This is going to take a while. Sit back and enjoy the road. And I'm going to show you every step from here on out. Now, if for any reason that didn't work for you and you got a bug or an error, what you want to do is restart the Linux Live CD, and from that Linux Live CD and install it straight right before you even boot the Live CD. You'll have an option to choose to install. Alright? Okay guys, this happens sometimes when we're dealing with Ubuntu and Linux. Things get a little bit messed up, they get a little confusing. So I created an extended partition that had this extra 10 gigabit partition. You can see my Linux install, formatted this hard drive, left 7 gig of open space, and put the swap file here. The swap file is kind of like extra RAM for Linux, long story, not getting into it right now. But anyway, so the point is that I failed. The installer was failing with this installation, and over time Linux changes, and it's changed some of its formats to be more user friendly. So what I think this means is that it doesn't like the fact that I have this extended partition and all this stuff set up anymore. It used to work just fine. You could target exactly where you wanted to install, but now it's a little bit more walk you through it. And for the purpose of this tutorial, I'll just show you how this has affected my installation project. So here, this is my extended partition. I'm going to right click on it. Oh, I guess I'm not. I'm going to right click on this extended partition. Oh, it looks like I can't delete it, huh? Like I can delete this one. So I could go delete. And I can delete this little swap file on the end here. Turn the swap off. Takes just a second, waiting for it to load. You can see down here. Alright, there we go. Now I can delete the swap. Delete it, and I can come over here and delete, and then I can apply all these options. Yep, I want to apply this. Get rid of that Linux failed install. And waiting for it. You can see down there, it's kind of thinking a little bit. I'll set this as new, and I'm going to go ahead and set it as nothing. I want it to be unallocated, unformatted. That's what we want, right? Alright, let's see if it works now. Alright, so it just goes to show you, I have installed Linux, particularly Linux Ubuntu, at least 100 times, easily more, and I just had a problem. I was getting an error, my installer was crashing, I couldn't figure out the problem. I wiped out my little 10 gigabyte partition that I could use to share between Windows and Linux, and tried it again, and it still failed. And I read up about the error I was having, and turns out I just needed a new CD. And I've said this before, when you're going to start learning to use live CDs, buy a whole pack of DVDs. And I recommend you use DVDs, not CDs, but buy a whole pack of DVDs and just plan to burn them. Plan to burn through them. Use different software packets if you have to. Sometimes the originals don't work so well. So what I have here is a completed installation of Ubuntu installed alongside Windows, and it looks like we're coming to the final stages of installation, but we're not done yet. Now it's installing the system. It just loaded all the memory into RAM it needed and all the configurations it needed from the disk, and I'm going to let it do its thing. It's going to take a while. But that was I'm glad this happened. That was the error that I experienced during this installation, and it's very common to have to troubleshoot to get through this. And I'm telling you right now, the amount of information you need to know to troubleshoot your way through this is actually very small. So what may seem like extremely complicated and daunting and confusing at first is just a lack of knowledge and experience. So don't get discouraged. If you fail, try again. Now the installation process is almost complete, and I want to take just a minute to continue rambling at you, and I want you to please hear me out on this. It's frustrating. It can be complicating doing this, especially the learning process. The rewards you're going to reap from using Ubuntu and having dual boot Not to mention the clout you're going to get at parties. Once I show you what you can do with this Ubuntu program, impress all your friends, look awesome and amazing. But to get there is a challenge, and that's why you don't see people everywhere with dual boot, because it's not for the novice, average computer person. This is for the best of the best, and you can do it. You can make it. All you have to do is, once you have mastered installing dual boot, this is a Plymouth Rock of hacker level, of hacker rank. If you can achieve dual boot status and have a stable dual boot system, the amount of tools you will have at your disposal are undescribable. So the installation is complete, and it's asking me if I would like to restart the program. And I am going to say, you bet I want to restart the program. Right here, click on the restart button, and I'm a happy guy. Now, whenever you have a Linux Live CD in the drive, it does this annoying thing where the computer, upon shutdown, will eject the CD and wait for you to press enter. So it's nothing to worry about. It's just really annoying when you hit restart and then walk away from your computer and expect it to turn back on, and it doesn't. So here we are. Ubuntu is powering down. Alright, so the CD popped out. I'm going to take the CD and put it in a safe place, because I had to work really hard to get a working CD. The first one didn't burn correctly. And there you have it. So now you can't read it, but it says please remove installation media and close the tray. Press enter. So now I'm rebooting. Now you'll recall that I had the BIOS set to boot from CD. Now, as long as there's no CD in the drive, the CD drive, it's going to just boot straight from the hard drive. Alright? Or straight from the hard drive and not from the CD drive. So I want you to see this. This is different. Now, I've restarted my computer, and I'm in what's known as grub. Now this is the grub menu. Grub and MBR are a topic for a different video, but basically what it is it controls booting the computer. So we have here options, and if I scroll down to the bottom, I can choose Windows. All these other ones are just like Ubuntu recovery methods, so the three in the middle don't worry about. Just the top one and the Windows are the ones that you care about. Now, when you turn on your computer, there is a timer on this screen that in 6 seconds it will automatically load Ubuntu. So you have to push the up and down. Like right now, it's not automatically loading Ubuntu because I started scrolling and that shut off the timer. Before I show you Linux, let me just turn on my Windows just to show you that there's no problems at all here. I'm going to run Windows without clipping or cutting or editing anything. I'm going to run Windows and Linux on a dual boot computer. So you can see that Windows is running perfectly fine. Chop chop Windows. Come on, guy. There we go. Okay. So Windows is running fine. I'm going to go ahead and restart the computer. And now you get to check out some Ubuntu. So Windows is restarting. So if I'm like in the middle of a complicated operation and I can't perform a task because I don't have Windows, then you'll see at the bottom it says it's a counter right there. So I want to press down to choose Windows, otherwise it would have automatically booted Ubuntu. So now we're going to boot Ubuntu. Anyway, So when I'm using Windows, sometimes I don't have the money for the new Photoshop, or I don't have the money for the new video editing software, or whatever it is that Windows is selling at the time. Or maybe I just don't have the money to buy every single type of software out there. With Ubuntu, with open source free software, I can get access to all kinds of goodies. Alright? So now you've just witnessed me in one cut, without editing, without anything, just dual boot, select 2 different operating systems on one computer. So all I have to do is keep a little thumb drive with me, and you can see how fast this works. I can turn this on, and if I start typing stuff in here, it's kind of a lot like old Windows or old Apple Finder, or like the Windows Start button. I've got internet. I'm not connected to the internet yet. Let's connect to the internet. That's not me. I'm this guy. Whoa. Enjoy your new Linux, and in future videos I will be showing you all kinds of fun tricks to do with this software. So stay tuned, subscribe, like, and comment. During this installation you may have problems. That's not uncommon, especially for beginners. The biggest hang-ups are creating the Live CD, booting the Live CD, and installing the operating system with dual boot installation. If you can accomplish these 3 tasks, you'll have a stable platform for learning brand new state-of-the-art free software on Ubuntu. Don't give up.